Good bread.
Yeah.
It always is, man. Where'd you learn how to bake? Or have you just been teaching yourself?
I just looked it up. I can't remember exactly when. I just thought one day, like, how do you make bread? Like, I looked it up and I realized it looked actually real easy.
Fair enough.
It is easy. So I started making it myself.
And then you start saying, like that.
Because it was the one thing at the store where I like really had no. I had no idea where it came from.
Yeah.
How do you go from flour to bread?
Yeah.
Were you high?
Maybe.
Right.
How's the jazz, country boy?
I reckon it's pretty good.
Right.
And if you were to keep on playing that jazz and find me a boot that'll match this, we'd be great.
Do you have a little small plate or something?
Yeah. Turn table. Turn door.
Nope.
The spinning one?
Oh.
This one's small.
Can I please have fine china?
How fancy do you think I am?
Well, the jazz is here.
Yeah.
Coffee? You're pretty alright.
Sophisticated, if you will.
Right.
What are you thinking you're gonna get for Miss Rios today?
I'm gonna try their curry finally.
The curry?
Huh?
Yeah. What is a curry? Anyways?
It's like a broth soup, right?
Yeah.
Coconut
But
milk?
it uses coconut milk,
And
yeah.
spices.
Interesting.
And spices, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Herbs and spices. Like Indian curries use a lot of cashews too, but I don't know about Thai curries.
What do you think?
Thai curries use like Thai basil and stuff like that.
You don't know.
you gonna get the pad thai again?
Probably.
Ooh, crab and greens. I haven't tried them yet either. I'm pretty sure they're probably imitation, but
I'm stuck.
It is, but
I'm stuck between.
they at least had say
that's
it.
what they all.
They at least say it.
Oh yeah.
I'm stuck between the pad thai or the orange chicken.
I had pad thai. Ah, you know what? I might just get the pad thai again.
Is the pad thai the one with the peanuts?
But it's like cashews or walnuts. It's on the side.
It's peanuts.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's peanuts.
It's good.
See, and I like when they put it on the side. Some of them will have it with it,
Yeah.
and I don't like that because I like to add my cashews into it when I want the crunch with it or not.
Mhm.
Well, I'll start with the intro.
Before you start, what is the intro? I mean, like, what is the topic?
Return to self-sufficiency. We are now 4 years past the coronavirus pandemic of 2020. 4 years past the pandemic with a mortality rate of minus 0.1% per 100,000 people, according to our Walden data. For which we shut down the country for a year, and we are still recovering from issues related to disruption in global supply chain. However, we can point to one positive aspect that came out of the pandemic. Approximately 18 million Americans took up gardening as a hobby through 2020, including many millennials. Many people are realizing just how dependent we are on external sources of food, which we have no individual control over. The pandemic revealed weaknesses in our modern society, from food to power grids to the psychology of desperation. Perhaps it's time for a revival of tradition, of rejection of particular aspects of modernity, and a return to traditional self-sufficiency. I'll let the hip-hop artist Killer Mike exemplify what I'm conveying here. We brag on having bread, but none of us are bakers. We talk of having greens, but none of us own acres. If none of us own acres and none of us grow wheat, then who will feed our people when our people need to eat? I think the first step to becoming more self-sufficient is taking more control over our food supplies for our homes. What are some small practical ways each American can become more self-sufficient at the individual level? that's the first question. Kick off the hour.
You're a rapper.
I didn't come up with that.
I know, but look at you.
Rhyming and stuff like that. Self-sufficiency.
Can you repeat the question?
Simple steps each American can take to become more self-sufficient.
Well, my friend was one of the ones during the pandemic. He started his own garden in his backyard, but it took him time just to learn what he could grow and how to grow it, because like he dedicated maybe like 25 to 30% of his yard to his garden, and then like the first year he didn't have a lot of success, but he just kind of kept on. Like he learned more about the plants that he was growing, and it took off the second year, and then he's doing it again this year. But there's still a couple plants that he doesn't, he's not able to grow, like strawberries. I think they don't grow for him. But then there's also plants that he doesn't have to try hard for because they just keep coming back, like onions and garlic, for instance. He doesn't really have to do anything with them because they're going to come back every year naturally.
Really? It's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when the pandemic first started too, because I had came home for spring break, and my dad and then at the hardware, they were considered essential employees. The hardware was considered that. So they all worked, and they said that like they were just beyond busy because people were buying stuff to build greenhouses and gardening and whatever. It was weird how it was like the pandemic was kind of like this, like all of a sudden, like it was all of a sudden like this slash at people of like realizing that we don't know how to, I guess, go back to more of a subtle way of life, or well, not subtle.
I'd say an agricultural view.
Yeah, like it kind of made people realize, like, oh my gosh, like we live in such a commercialized world, and kind of. And I think people all of a sudden kind of step back and be like, wait a sec, how come I don't have a garden?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
And
it made people like aware, self-aware.
It's amazing on a lot of aspects because we can do things that our ancestors never thought possible, but it also makes us more vulnerable in other aspects.
Yeah, definitely. Like if it was all to go away, like where would we be back at square one? But also we want to know how to take care of ourselves at that point.
I think we need to cut.
Like, what if we had a power outage that lasted a week?
Yeah.
I think we need to cut off our reliance on technology when it comes to that stuff. I don't want to say cut it off, but like step back from it and maybe learn, not through a video or something. Like maybe like people need to be more enveloped into the way of learning how to do those kinds of things. Like put people in it, rather than just showing them a video or something like that. I think that will make people kind of at least have a better understanding of that way of life.
And even for like the old technology from like back in the day where you didn't need like like record players, like you didn't need internet for that, or you didn't need stuff. I don't know.
Well, even one thing that's good about New Mexico when it comes to that is like the agriculture industry is huge here, and so much so that like FFA and what's the other agricultural the big
4-H.
Yeah, 4-H and FFA are huge in even high schools. But I know I've been like in different states and they don't teach that. Like in the cities and stuff, they're not going to teach like agricultural anything or anything to deal with livestock or any plants. So like it's even worse in the cities. And then in the cities, like they don't even have room to start their own gardens if they were to want to. Like they don't have the space. It's concrete jungle, so there's no room to grow anything.
Well, even if it's just a potted plant in your apartment.
Yeah, but that's not going to sustain you though. Like you do need a garden to sustain if things were to go bad or whatever. Like they did go bad, and then like people saw the prices increasing on everything. Like eggs were one of the big things. But if anybody had like a couple chickens, they wouldn't have never had to worry about the price of eggs. But even now, that's affecting the price of eggs, milk, cheese after the pandemic. So, I don't know. It's hard for people in cities for sure. And then here, the only excuse is like laziness, really. Like, we don't have the drive to go and learn those skills to actually.
And we should take advantage of being in this area.
Well, like you brought up a good point though too about like cities is because 4-H teaches like to live off the land and stuff like that. You don't have enough of that in the city for you to have cows or to have stuff like that.
The conveniences are there in the city.
Because if you try to do a cattle drive down Interstate 25, it's gonna be a fucking shit show.
Yeah. See, here we at least have the advantage of, like, I'm pretty sure every property here has their own yard and a decent sized yard. That's not even like encroached on by other people, which is nice. So if people were to be learning those skills early on, then it would be more.
And also, that's why I also love like this part about New Mexico as well, is because like the wilderness and stuff like that, you can just take your cows out to the pasture and just let them graze on just normal grass out there, and then bring them back, and then you're able to decide whether or not that's going to be food or you got to take care of it for another year.
Yeah, and of course the schools deserve some credit on this topic with their agricultural class and the greenhouse they want to build.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Miss Adams, I think, is a big part of that.
But I think one thing too that they should do is also tie in culinary arts with that as well, so that they also know how to take advantage of.
That'd be cool. Imagine doing like, you do a proper way to butcher a cow or something like that.
Yeah.
With that, you can make a meal with the kids.
Proper way.
Like maybe a traditional New Mexico meal.
Proper way to
from a.
Proper way to butcher a cow or a pig, or or even show how to milk a cow as well. Show them the process of how to make cheese, just
good thing this is being recorded. We can submit this to the schools. Be like, hey, we came up with an idea. We came up with it. We're not asking for money, but hey, we just want the credit.
We're not even educators. We're just 4 potheads.
So, but yeah, that's one way that I feel like the schools could definitely take advantage of showing these kids to be a little bit more self-sufficient instead of, hey, how do you make cheese? I don't know, let me ask Google.
But it's like, we probably have a little more of an advantage over people living in the city, but even us ourselves aren't really doing that practice either. So it's like, even us, we should be kind of more, like you said, taking advantage of knowing how to do at least simple basic stuff because of like gardening and things like that.
But I think it's also that thing of like teaching an old dog new tricks, because like we weren't taught it in school. At least I wasn't, because I didn't move here till later, like my high school years. So I didn't really get into agriculture or anything. But if I had grown up here, it might have been a different story.
But even I grew up here and I didn't really take practice in that.
But if they made it,
there are people who do, but I wasn't.
If they made it a mandatory thing, like that would be a good small step. Like make it a mandatory, like at least
requirement class.
1 year.
Or a semester.
Yeah, like to graduate, you need at least like 1 credit of agriculture or something to learn.
Yeah.
Like basic planting, like what's it called?
Herbology.
That's
what it would be in
horticulture. Yeah, horticulture. I think that's what it is. Like planting and gardening. Like if that was a requirement in high school, that might be a good first step. But like, so everybody's learning that. But I don't know.
Or even just a class on where food comes from, like where did the grocery store get it, where the restaurants get it, like study of the supply chains. How far away you may be from a distribution center. Like that.
But I feel like when
most of the farms are.
Yeah, but I feel like when you start getting into that, then you start getting into the industrialized aspect of that food industry. Because you're not looking at it because
That's good to know.
I think so, but I feel like industrial-wise, it's a little bit more different than how you would do it, like just for your
because it's
out
of course for us.
Yeah. So, because I know that they would have to follow, like, an FDA-approved industrialized food distributor would have to go through a lot of...
that's another topic.
Yeah. So, but still, like, but like for me, myself, if I'm talking about agriculture too, I think I really do think that it is just as simple as showing this future generation. Yeah, just showing them, because like one thing I'm not gonna say like that grow crops every year or anything like that, but like, you know, I have water rights for my property.
Yeah.
And
irrigate.
Yeah, so an irrigation is kind of a
It's a trait, like like you know how to do it.
yeah,
properly.
yeah. You got to know how to be able to
do
manipulate
it the right way.
Yeah, manipulate water so you can hit it to the certain parts of your property so it can hit you know, your garden, your trees, all that stuff like that. And sure enough, I mean, we do that every year at my place. You know, I usually grow either choke cherries or plums, lots of plums actually, and then maybe some apples every once in a while, some cherries, and my mom makes jam out of it, and it's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you know, but like that's because my dad taught me how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we should just try and teach, especially here, because over here we're very fortunate. Like you were talking about, the beginning steps of agriculture is just, we're already one step ahead over here in this rural area. Yeah. So I think that we should just try and teach our kids, like, these are aspects.
Just how to upkeep your land and take care of it, and you know what you can get out of it.
Yeah, and that too, you know, because you upkeep your land, and then you're also able to, you know, if you wanted to grow a garden, all you need to do is just till it versus go out there, cut all those weeds, and then after that, go ahead and water that land, be sure that soil's rich enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, just upkeep. So some of the few things that I could say would be a good step into that. You know? I also feel like we also take advantage of like even like wild agricultural things over here too, like
elk?
Elk, but also too like we pick piñon, you know. So and I find that pretty cool. So
Yeah.
and
Well, even like
just carries on tradition.
hunting, like here in this area, there's some people, like there's some families that they most of their meat diet is like elk from all they kill. Like they're not really buying beef.
Yeah.
My Uncle Matt and them, they're a good example of that. Like they eat a lot of elk. You know, that's like probably one of their main proteins is elk.
Well, one kill can just last so long, even for a family. So
And like
it's
you
nice.
figure, you know, if you have a family, even if you're a family of four, mom, dad, you know, son, daughter, if all four of you draw and you all kill, I mean, man, you're you know, you're set. You're good. You're really set.
Like a whole year plus.
You know, so it's funny. Like there's things that we don't even realize that are people in a way are doing that you're not gonna see in somebody in a city.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I was living in the city, nobody went
I mean,
hunting. They
yeah,
don't,
like-
that's not something they do at all.
Like Gabrielle and Isaac, when there's times where they're going back home, they have their Yeti coolers, whatever, because my Uncle Matt's giving them meat.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're gonna eat. Because that, you know what I mean? Like they have to get the meat from here to enjoy it in Albuquerque.
What would you suggest every city slicker look into, at least, like as just a basic thing?
I think cities.
Every
are just-
city what?
I think cities are a bad idea in general, but maybe if since it's the way it is, it's not like they can all just abandon their homes and fucking learn a different way to live. But maybe like communal things, like if like a city block was dedicated to a communal garden or
Yeah, I think
something like that.
I think cities need to have more communities within the city. Like,
Yeah.
they need to have more like structure, like you know.
And that might be the key, just improving community ties in cities.
Mm-hmm.
Because ironically, there's more people together, but less connection with each other.
And I remember we were talking one
Right.
time. I don't know if it was on a podcast or just us talking, but we were talking about how, like in Albuquerque, was it with you, Dylan? In Albuquerque, they have like the farmers market, but they have just one central farmers market. And we were saying maybe
Oh, yeah.
they should have them in different parts. Each part of the city should have its own farmers market.
Yeah.
And then maybe at the end of the season, all of them come together at the main one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about like how
Like a festival or
like a
something
festival.
like that.
Yeah, and we were saying how farmers markets in a way bring a sense of community because we were talking about how at the farmers market here, I don't go there, but there's times I've been there and the people you always hear there, they're so diverse in personalities.
Yeah.
Like you'll find you'll find the old school Hispanic man there from Cuesta, there with some hippie that, like there's just so much variety of people that go there that are all living within the Cuesta area.
Yeah.
And you really can only find that like at a farmer's market.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Where else, people aren't going to sports games to all come together like that.
Even the
And-
kids go over there to the farmers market.
Yeah,
here.
Dom and all them go.
Dom, freaking Dietrich.
Yeah, they're all there. So
Yeah.
that's why it's like, cities need to have stuff like that.
I met 2 old classmates from Channel High at the Quest Farmers Market.
Really? See, there you go.
Yeah.
And then what's better about being a farmer's market is that you're getting the local produce from the area, so it's like, it feels good to be eating from your own. You almost feel like this sense of like, nice, I got all my veggies and all that shit. I don't even go to a store, I got it all from the local farm, you know what I mean? My dad used to do that a lot. There was times where we were always getting from the Cerro Vista farms, lettuce, kale, all this shit. So like, my mom would put it to use.
There was something when I was in Portland, I saw something that kind of blew my mind. It was the one free day I had off work. It was I saw this apartment complex, this apartment building, with plants in some kind of structure on the side of the wall. It was vertical
like a
granite.
planter? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it was stuck in the plant. The planter was vertical. Plants was stuck in there somehow, and I think there was probably a hose at the top, running splitting water from the top of the garden, so it ran down the length of the garden of the planter. It was like, well, that's cool. I was like, why doesn't every city have this? This should be
Yeah.
something that every skyscraper should have.
I think they do that in, was it China? Something like that. Somewhere in Asia, they have like skyscrapers that have like whole levels that are dedicated to gardening. So like it'll be like 3 levels of residential and then a level of
that's
gardening. I think so.
San Francisco is trying to do that, I think, too. And that's one thing where you can look at those cities and be like, yeah, that is a smart thing. They're thinking ahead, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that way, because like that would make because they do it on levels, you said, right? Like different levels.
Well,
of the
he was
building?
saying that was on the side of the building. The one I'm talking about was
Those
like,
on levels, yeah, I think those are the
levels.
ones.
Yeah, the one I saw was rudimentary. It was just one wall.
Did you know the 49ers stadium is they have at the top of the stadium they have a garden too.
Oh,
and
that's
so
cool.
all the food that would be from a garden is used for the stadium food.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I
That's
mean?
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But then another thing I just thought of, because like I saw this thing that's been stuck in my head. It was a video of like a manufacturing plant, like a factory, of how they don't clean like their vats and stuff like that they are using to make the food they're feeding us. So like there's mold and stuff growing in there, and it's all disgusting, like sludge. And it's like they don't clean except for to see the inspector. When the inspectors are coming, that's when they finally clean. Other than that, they just let it go disgusting. And I could definitely see that, because it's kind of the same way in a lot of the food industry, like restaurant industry. Like,
brewery?
right? Exactly. In the restaurant industry, it's a lot of the same thing. Is like they'll let all that nasty stuff go, and then if the inspector's coming, then they'll finally clean or like make it look up to standard. But so like we're just trusting that the people that are providing the food to us that we're buying from the store, they're doing it properly and in a healthy
Yeah, I
manner,
know.
looking out for us. But they're probably not, because they just want money. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they're trying to cut any corner it takes to make more money. So if they're having more man hours to cleaning, then they're losing man hours to producing. But yeah, so like if we know how to grow our own food, we wouldn't have to worry about that as much as like literally being poisoned by the people producing the
But
food for us.
you need a general community, everyone to be involved in that process to be able to like be contributing to that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because even a small restaurant can't just grow all its food itself.
Oh yeah.
Other people within the community would need to contribute to that idea of being able to do that.
Mhm.
You know, like in a sense, Europe still has that mentality in Europe, in rural parts of Europe. You know, they're very community centric. You know, you go to the market for you know, like it's even in Paris, like that's like the thing. Like people will stop at the market for a baguette, you know, and take it home for the day.
Well, they
you know
also
what I
have
mean?
a lot more history behind their communities. than
Yeah.
we do.
And because we were so modernized, we're modern world, we modernized the world, America, with our technology and all that. Yeah, we don't have that sense of history, except in places like these. You know, in places like these that still hold on to those old things. You know.
I think it's more from the fact that we're a rebel nation, a rebel frontier nation with that I can do it attitude, and like I don't need anybody.
And now
individualistic.
And now we're going through this metamorphosis in this kind of sense that, like, there's a lot of people who want to hold on to that old American style way, you know, but it's like it's being challenged. You know, what's the true American way now? Like, no one knows
Would
anymore.
you say that? Do you think it's accurate to say that
we're going to a renaissance?
There's two Americas within the country.
Mm-hmm.
The urban America and the rural America.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's night and day when it comes to mentalities of people. Even when I go visit now, Albuquerque is by far no huge city.
Mm-hmm.
But now, being back and forth in both places, having lived there and living here, and let's say I haven't even lived in Bear City, I can just tell the difference in my family living there, of how they live their lives and just how they, you know, just the luxury they have in certain things, or how they view something sometimes, and I'm kind of like, you know, and I'm not saying like, oh, well, this is the better way, or their way's better, or anything like that, but I could just tell there's a difference in the way of thinking, and I'm like, I feel like had I still been living there, I would probably be thinking the way they're thinking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the living in these rural areas, it really does kind of make you not, you know, realize your, in a sense, like gratefulness to the things we do have in this world, you know what I mean? Because in the city, you do have the luxury of getting anything you want whenever you do want it, basically. And, you know, especially owning a restaurant now, like we were talking about this earlier, you know, there's
like
just
not
like
being able
the
to
luxury of
access.
not having access to certain shit. You know, I can't get this until 4 days or 3 days because the truck will be here then. I can't just drive to Sam's Club. It'll be like my closest Sam's Club's 2 hours away. You know, I can't just go drive 15 minutes to the Sam's Club and go get something, you know. Like being a business owner, and I feel, you know, has really shown me to like the difference in the luxuries of a business in a city, in a town, in a rural area, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like if we, the Wildcat Stand, were located in Albuquerque, oh my gosh, we would be a hit, you know what I mean? Like, we'd be a hit, you know, with our same food style, with our same work ethic and whatever. I know the Wildcat Stand would do well in a place like Albuquerque.
Probably need a bigger establishment.
I mean, it would at least be a modern building too, you know?
Yeah.
So
but
it's
I
like...
think also, like, having it here, if we were to try to get the community involved in anything, we'd have a better chance here than there. Like, if we have it somewhere like that, like, we might have a few people interested, but nobody's
and the history
really gonna
and the
commit.
history's here.
Yeah.
And the charm of the place is here.
Yeah.
And the connection to people is here. It's not going to be built in a place like that. You know, so it's like, that's the difficulties of a city and a rural life, is like, you want the best of both worlds, you want this and that, but you...
Is that your strategy as a business owner? Expand to a different area and tailor that new location to that area? Not have a blanket, like, corporate...
I don't know, because the thing is like, if it's to expand, you know, the idea is maybe to not make it... I don't want to become so commercialized either, you know what I mean? You want to contain the same charm and essence of what makes it special.
Well, that's what I mean. Part of that is conforming it to the local culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like however different that may be from Cuesta and Taos, or Albuquerque.
I mean, we have our own culture too. The culture of that homey feeling you get when that in a sense is a culture or anything. So it's like, I think bringing that culture I think will always attract people, because people are always gonna like being in a feeling of that homey feeling, you know, like, this place makes me feel like I feel cool, comfortable coming here. This is a cool spot to hang out. This is a cool spot to eat, you know. That's if I were to expand, that is what is needed to be replicated in that next type of thing. It just can't be, wow, this is the most prime spot ever, and we're gonna be so busy, you know, blah 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 blah. But then we don't have that charm, and then you're gonna have people saying, yeah, they're busy there, and yeah, But the original one's better. You know, they're still like the same, and people are always, you know, it's.
The old Sugars building is still empty.
Yeah, I know. Like, see, that would almost be a cool little spot to do because it's like, why? It's old, it has charm, it has all these things. But
Where is that?
Nah, I wouldn't do it there
in the
because
canyon?
it's in the canyon.
You ever went to Sugars?
Yeah.
Old,
No.
like in a,
But Taos and Red River, either one of those places would be awesome. You know, Red River's the locals are really good, you know, to us, and then Taos people too. You know, I think a lot of people from Taos kind of forget that we're here too. Like they've heard of us, but they just haven't tried us yet. You know?
well, there's a certain pomposity to Taos. What's the word? Pompousness. to Taos. I think all hippie towns have that.
Pompousness.
Shit, they might be the first ones to start gardening though.
Do you think that exclusivity also contributes to the den as well, or no?
Because where it's at.
Well, because you kind of, I remember you were saying one time that you feel like the den is like a destination.
Well, yeah, that's
thing.
what I'd like it to be.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been like, I don't know if Red River would be the right spot because then maybe we won't get those people from Red River to come to
Yeah.
Quest. You know what I mean? And in essence, I want Questa to succeed too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to just get a business and then just be like, you know, the original was nice, but
What if
we're gonna do better here.
Yeah.
So forget Questa's original location. You know what I mean?
What about Eagle Nest, not Red River? Like if you position
It'd be
yourself,
Angelfire.
if you position yourself on either side.
Oh,
of
Eagle Nest would be
nature.
cool because then you'd have people either going to Angelfire or Red River.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't expand to the biggest parts of the county, which is Red River and Taos,
Yeah.
what if you expand to the smaller areas instead? For
Yeah.
that
Well,
location?
Eagle Nest is part of Colfax County, but yeah, it's still within the
Well,
Enchanted
Enchanted
Circle.
Like, could that be a strategy?
Yeah. That's interesting. I never even thought of Eagle Nest, but that's actually
Like
cool.
to capture, like go to the small towns to capture the local charm of the whole area,
Yeah.
but avoid the big tourist areas.
There's times where I wonder too if we were to have it another spot, it would maybe be like maybe it's a little more of a pop-up kind of stand, not like more just like burgers, taquitos, maybe chili.
Need a food truck, Miguel?
Yeah, or maybe maybe I should just get a food truck.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Well, that seems like there'd be more possibility. You could go up to San Luis on days when they have events. That way you could take the food truck to event based
yeah,
locations like.
Or you can take you can even take that truck to even a farmer's market too.
yeah, that is true because there's always food trucks at a farmer's market.
Just pull up and buy all their tomatoes and lettuce and all that.
So then, but this
Have Corinne slicing.
But this also brings up another question too: is every single food that you would have to be selling from that truck would have to be FDA approved, though, correct?
Yeah, so like here's the other thing with going so local, right? Is that any business, even the grocery store, like it would be great and amazing if everyone can just help give to the grocery store, give their portion, whatever, and then sell. And he's told me that he's wanting to get more like local farms or whatever. But he can't just get them because they have to be FDA approved. There's so much regulation.
Well, that's when we get to the red tape part, the excessive regulations part of the conversation.
But the regulation is because the big guys made it that way because they started putting so much chemicals and so much shit into the fucking thing that natural lettuce is not even lettuce anymore. So there are all these different chemicals in them. So they had to regulate it to make sure. So now the small guy that's just trying to have a simple cabbage soup can't just can't just sell it to his neighbor because if they get sick and die because there was a beetle in there or something that the beetle probably ate some insecticide from the farmers over there and it killed the person, then they're,
Then there went your
then they're-
bye business.
Yeah, that's how it sounds so simple, but it's not. Because the big guys made it bad.
Regulation.
They made it bad.
Is it this excessive regulation that's the problem? Like, do we really
definitely-
need all this regulation to keep us safe?
Well, it's They go hand in hand. It's not like one way or the other. They definitely work together, but because like I understand all the regulations on it to keep people healthy. Because like if we were to take bad produce from a local like garden or whatever, and it was handled improperly, and like maybe it has feces on it, just for instance, and then we just slice
cholera.
that. Something like, and we just slice that on our cutting board and then serve that, and then also the bacteria is now on our cutting board, so on and so forth. That's a easy way to get a community sick like that, just from one localized area. So that's why the regulations are in place. But then at the same time, like if we're teaching people how to properly prepare these vegetables and properly take care of them, clean them, and provide them to these businesses, then it would maybe soften the blow.
We need more education is what it is. We always come down to this. More education in this. Because the big guys...
Empower individuals, or do we need big daddy government to protect this?
No, we need to empower individuals because we've gotten so comfortable with the big guys, the corporations and the government being like, don't worry, we'll do it for you guys. You just gotta go to the store and buy it. We'll do everything for you so you don't even have to think anymore.
Meanwhile, we'll raise the prices slowly but surely. And
because we're so reliant on the big guys to take care of us, we don't know how to do shit. We don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? So it's we need to show people, teach people more, because then we can still use the big guys' product, but at least we know how to do this in case of that, you know?
Do you feel like also if restaurants didn't exist, people would be a little bit more self-reliant as well?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, they would have to be, because like restaurants are a big reason, like not a
In
big
poor
reason, but like
communities.
a big contributing factor to like the laziness, honestly, because like I have friends in Albuquerque and they all make pretty decent money and they'll eat out like DoorDash like 3 times a week just because they can.
That's
so
crazy.
like, exactly. And
I mean,
like, why
there
aren't
was
you
times,
Because
4
they charge
times a week,
really big
5 times a
delivery
week.
fees.
Yes, exactly. But it's the convenience.
Twice
They
a
don't have to
day,
leave their house. They don't have to make the
times,
food.
yeah.
The food comes right to their door. All they have to do is pay for it.
That's why it's expensive to live in the city, because it's like,
Yeah.
you don't have that
DoorDash.
self-control.
Yeah.
I used a couple of those mobile services actually. DoorDash, Postmates.
Yeah,
There's
there's
a few.
DoorDash, Postmates.
I used them like
Uber
5
Eats,
times total.
Grubhub.
Yeah.
But eventually I was like, just looking at my receipt, like, oh, this is not a lot of food. This is for kind of a lot of money.
Yeah, it's
I
a
stopped
very-
using it.
It's like a big premium on the food you're buying, but it's like, you're paying for the convenience because, like I was just saying, they don't have to leave their house. They don't have to make the food. They don't have to get their dishes dirty and do dishes later or anything. They don't have to try. Basically, you can get on your phone and just order. So why not, right? Like, why?
Then there's stories of people, the delivery drivers who I think they can see how much of a tip they get.
Yeah.
And depending on the tip, they can choose to ignore it. Like, there's
Oh,
people
well, it
who do that.
depends. So, like, when it was on DoorDash, it's like, so the order pops up, and I know DoorDash Pay, it started at like $3.50 to $4, but then they freaking dropped it to like $2.50 per order. So, like, you take that $2.50 and then say the order's $7, then you know the customer tipped like $4.50 for you. So, like, what would make it worth it for me was $5. So it just depends. So
Depends
like, if
where
I
you're
see an
at.
order-
Depends,
yeah.
yeah.
And it depends, like, if the order's, like, just around the block, like, I have to pick up at this restaurant and take it just around the block, which happens a lot for disabled people. That's actually another argument, is the restaurants might make it more accessible for everybody, but that includes the disabled people. Nonetheless, if it's right around the block, I would take it if it's a small tip, because I'm going to get that done really quick. But yeah, restaurants definitely contribute to, like, the factor of, like, people not wanting to like learn how to be
And it's obvious when
agriculturally
someone
minded or
comes in
whatever.
a minute before close. But
Well, and
did
not
I
just-
tell you about that?
Oh, yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
Well, you don't have to say the name, but...
I don't know who it was, but it was just this guy who walked in like he was all rushing. He was like, "Did I make it in time?" And we were like, I looked at the clock and I was like, 1 minute, and he was like, "Oh, just in time." And I was like, "Really, bro?"
You're like,
but he tipped us $1.
oh,
Yeah,
what do you get?
Huh?
What do you get, a burger?
2 burgers.
Oh, cool.
One special, one burger.
And
Yeah, but you know,
I really enjoyed that quarter.
yeah.
So
Hey, it's 25 cents you didn't have.
yeah, exactly. So
No, restaurants though, you have to also figure, and lower income areas are almost a lifeblood to some places because, you know, a family, a mom of 5 kids, or 3 kids, don't have a dad or whatever. She has to work, and the older sibling has to watch the kids. Just get McDonald's, freaking $25 for whatever, all these little cheap
We
things.
become addicted to convenience.
Yeah,
And
because
I think that's American society as a whole, because
Yeah.
it's a kind of a mindset of consuming.
But
we're
in
a
the-
consumerist society.
in the city it's amplified.
oh
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Here, you can't, even though there's some people who do order frequently from the den. I mean, there's people in the city who order at certain places every day, continuously, and so like that's what shows. That's another, I feel like, highlight of the differences in rural and urban America is just like the consumerism is a little lower. I feel in this area.
in this area, yeah, for sure.
'Cause
And you can definitely see that just from the turnouts at the farmers market, like the amount of produce and stuff that they have there.
Mhm.
It's not comparable to even cities. Cities, they don't have as many people showing up or as much food when they do show up.
And maybe people are just so sick and tired of fucking chemicals being put in their goddamn food.
I know, I am. I saw Marlena. She got her mom brought her a chocolate strawberry the other day that was like this freaking big, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, strawberries are supposed to be like this big. That is a GMO ass strawberry.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, apples aren't even apples anymore. They've said. I think I saw this video and it was like the common apple now is not even like an original apple.
same
And
for
this-
bananas.
And
Yeah.
this is even like something that even me and you were talking about one time too, about like the issue with the ranch, because like people are just like, oh, I don't like the ranch because it curdles. And I'm like, well, yeah, because it's fresh and it doesn't have all those fucking chemicals in it
Yeah, no
to make it
preservatives.
curdle,
Yeah.
So
We learned our lesson though too, not putting it in the
yeah. So, but just the basic point about like that's just more convenience for people.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
sometimes people forget the whole like homemade shit.
Yeah.
They forget that hey, there was work put in. We put work in to give this thing to you.
There's an easy way to combat that argument, though. How things don't spoil as fast.
Yeah.
If something doesn't decay, what's actually in it? Like, is it really natural?
Yeah.
It doesn't decay.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what he's saying is like, so like the fresh ranch we have now, because like when we first opened, we were using Kraft and Hidden Valley, and we would put those in the boxes like of the biopacks for the chicken strip baskets, and it would stay normal. But with our homemade one, it curdles from the heat. So yeah, it's like obvious. When you compare the two side by side in the same occasion, the fresh one is like, it's made with better ingredients, obviously, but it's not. It doesn't have chemicals in it, preserving its state to like stay fresh.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like arguing with someone who prefers store-bought stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's what you said.
Yeah,
Maybe they. You know what law they need to regulate now? They need to have laws that food cannot last. Like anything unnatural, cannot last more than this much months. Food should not be over.
Grocery stores have to clear everything
No,
out.
no, really though. I know, but that honestly, that would change the entire perception of how then people would do that. Like imagine just one day somebody just said, okay, from now on, any food item created whatever cannot last more than a year. I don't know.
If people were educated, they would be suspicious about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just naturally. Like, hey, I saw that same loaf of bread last week. It still looks the same.
Look,
Yeah.
we had hoagies. Remember those hoagies?
Yeah.
They lasted ages.
Okay, last year for Lent, we did fish sandwich on a hoagie. Remember that? On a hoagie bun?
I think so. Yeah. I remember.
We threw out those hoagies maybe 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago.
Yeah, they were there for a while.
So those hoagie buns were there for about 9 months in a fridge. Like we never even used them, but it was like when we threw them, they looked perfectly normal.
Mm-hmm.
They smelled normal. They didn't have no green, nothing on them. And I'm like, we even talked about
Did
this.
they taste the same though?
We didn't try it. I mean, I didn't try it. But it was like, think about that. 9 months that bread was there, didn't even turn green once. You know what I mean? Like, what is that? What was in that
But if
bread?
you throw your bread in there, it's gonna go bad in like about a week.
Yeah, So, like things that are naturally should not last that long. that should be a law. Like this should not be lasting that long. in
Yeah,
shelf
I mean, there
life.
are ways
It's
to keep vegetables longer, like over the winter. Like if you store potatoes in a dark place with barely any sunlight,
Or even
barely any heat.
dehydrating stuff.
But
too.
you know why things need to be the shelf life needs to be extended so far is because we're such a globalist society now too. We depend on the delivery of transporting them to whatever.
yeah.
So because the time when that bread was made, and by the time it gets shipped from here to here to here to here to here to here, and then finally gets to us, you know, next time we put an order away, look at the boxes of the buns. It tells you the exact date of when they made it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
usually 2 months before we're getting it, or,
Oh,
a month and a half.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
then just keeping it frozen.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, like, it's the, you know, it's just the way the society is built.
I have to give some credit to Wingstop though. When I was working there, I noticed they I think they went through great pains to get American potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Keeping
It
it
was
like,
from, I think, two of their biggest suppliers were Colorado company and an Idaho company. That's where they mostly got their potatoes.
Yeah.
They would alternate between shipping companies.
yeah.
But they made their fries are fresh with American grown potatoes. As far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think that's a good point though. Put regulations on like food like that though.
but that would require the FDA to change a lot.
Yeah,
of their
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It
regulations,
would
because
be-
the FDA is the ones that allowing those preservatives and.
It would
chemicals
be
and
like
that.
one of the biggest turnaround in culture, like in society. Like it would be one of, it's changing the way people eat. You know what I mean? It would force people to change, and like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's so hyperbolic, or it's so big. You know what I mean? It would never happen. But like
another thing that
ideally-
would change too. Another thing that would change too is, I feel like Sam's Club wouldn't exist.
Well, I mean, they provide a lot of stuff that's not food based too, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a large part.
I
of
guess
their-
that's true, but like in their produce section, Sam's Club would not thrive off of that.
Well,
Well,
unless they
because-
were, like, take
Unless they
after-
became the main people.
Like
Well,
if
yeah.
they started a farm, like their own farms and
Yeah.
stuff too. If they took after the trend,
No,
like if we were all
I-
to start.
I still
learning how to
disagree with
farm.
that statement actually.
what
Why?
I still feel like Sam's Club produce would not thrive because
would not
because
thrive if we like
if
hypothetically.
hypothetically kept these rules
Uh-huh.
where food only lasts that long, because usually if you go to Sam's Club you're buying in bulk.
That's what you're saying.
And if you're
Oh.
gonna buy in bulk, and then it's all like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm gonna get through this whole entire bulk, but like,
Yeah.
say you buy food for 3 months, you're only gonna get through a month's worth of that food, and then what? Throw out the rest of the 2 months worth of that food because
Yeah.
It would
went
hurt.
bad
Saying it would
because you
hurt
bought it in
bulk
bulk.
stores like Sam's
Yeah.
Club and Costco,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because
and to the point where they would just not sell.
well, yeah, they wouldn't. They would sell it, but then you would have a lot of customers saying like, "Hey, man, like I tried to be sure that I can come over here buy my food in bulk, so I don't have to come here for another 2 months. But my food already went bad within a month, so I had to throw out another month's worth of food." And it's just like, well, those are new FDA rules.
But wouldn't that cause them to, like, getting complaints like that? Do you think that would cause them to, hey, let's just not sell veggies anymore? It's too much trouble.
I think I could see them adapting to where they would be like, we'll still sell bulk, but now it can only, people will have to just be coming to us more often now.
Yeah.
Because they have to buy, because of the shelf life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would still,
So-
but that's. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's just because I know that Sam's Club. Every time you go to Sam's Club, I mean, and I know Sam's Club how they view like their sales, because when I was working for Taos Bakes, we had to do about 480 pallets worth of bars. 480 pallets, and then you go ahead and times that by 40. So and then you times that by 52. So basically we had to have a whole entire order ready for them worth of 998,400 bars. Right?
Oh yeah, that's like if that would all go bad in the time that
Ex-
people were to eat those.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying like there would be that disconnect of that between Sam's Club and that food regulation as well.
Now we also have to remember this idealistic way we would look at it. I mean, It would, in a sense, it would kind of take us back. Like
Yeah.
it would pull.
Well,
you know.
that could segue to another topic. Like, is this all this artificial shit we put into our foods? Do you think that's dependent on? Do you think that led to a more globalized society where it can be shipped everywhere, and have it last longer? Like, is this globalized economy possible if we kept to natural food production?
For food, no, it would make a major dent on food. I mean, bananas. Bananas is like your biggest example. There's no bananas in the United States. So, coconuts, limes, avocados, mangoes,
pineapples.
We would be essentially going back to whatever's found in the culture of the area.
We will all be much more dependent on local foods.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Perhaps in Mexico could ship it to the yogurt plant from Mexico.
And that's our question. Are we willing to accept to go back to a time like that?
Paying $100 for a bushel of bananas.
And also self-reliance too. We're also just thinking about, because you can just live off of the food, but do you also want to live in luxury? Do you want to go ahead and build a windmill just on your property and then connect batteries to it and now you have power? So self-reliance is of the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Because if I was to say that we could be self-reliant right now, and be like, it's like, okay, well, the minimum bare definition of just give me a guitar, food, water, and I'm okay. But there's also somebody out there who's just like, well, how am I going to power my CPAP machine for my medical problems? How am I going to go ahead and do this for my dialysis treatments?
So just die.
just people who are just diabetics who need regular insulin.
Yeah. So then, just let the weak die then, I guess.
No, I think unfortunately we'll never go back to that time. I think in essence, though, to be more self-reliant on all that, at the end of the day, build that community sense. At least you don't need to do the whole farming. We need to go back to this. We need to do that. But if you have that community sense and involvement, it'll at least maybe bring people to have the collective mindset to be like, hey, let's at least learn how to do this more. Let's at least try and make an effort to practice these better, have better food practices. I don't know, things like that.
For the last 10 minutes, let's on that. What's your suggestion for, like, in more urban areas, like local city governments, or even just not just city governments, but associations, neighborhood associations, city neighborhood watch groups, anything. What's your suggestion for groups like that to encourage more communal ties? Well, let's shrink it down to the smallest part. One apartment complex in the middle of Albuquerque. How would you encourage more community ties between the tenants of that complex?
Engagement. I mean, you gotta engage them, so you gotta consistent engagement, to be honest, and kind of.
So you mean like from like the apartment manager, the guy who owns the complex, like
everyone from the apartment manager to the entire staff, like everyone has to be bought into it for it to work. You know what I mean? Like you gotta have the people who are trying to get the people to do it have to all be engaged as well too, because if not, then
and passionate about it.
And passionate,
you don't want them to half-ass that shit.
But I think how in the city though, that's a hard thing, because it's like you can't force people to come out. You can't force people.
Yeah.
It's almost like you just almost need to start doing it. Like you just need to do it, and people
like lead by example.
Yeah, and people will just naturally start.
Initiative.
Curiosity will pique people's minds, because then all of a sudden people will be like, what the hell are those guys always doing over there? You know what I mean? And if you provide a good environment for it, people will naturally want to go be like, is that they're barbecuing over there. What's that? Oh, hey guys, come on over. Yeah, this was our pet pig, and we were just gonna switch it up for our friends, whatever. Do you want to come, learn how to do it? Oh, yeah, sure. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, just doing it, I think is the most natural way to get people to do it. Like, I don't know.
And I don't know why, but there's just like, I mean, at least from what I know about like my community, there's just something. There's a beautiful aspect of allowing your fellow neighbor to come to your, to your thing, like to your agricultural, like to your garden or whatever it may be, and just them trying out your fruit and just saying, man, this is some damn good fruit,
Yeah. Like, not.
There's a sense of
less selfishness. That's another thing.
There's a sense of pride, just
have pride in what you do, but have pride in the ability to show people what you do
and share it.
Share it. Don't be selfish with your knowledge. I think that's the one thing. How do you get people to be selfless? That's a great question. Wait, was this you, Dylan? Oh, I just got your text about your speed doesn't matter. Just keep moving forward.
I'm putting motivational stuff in there.
Yeah, I do like that too, because I like to see what the high schoolers respond to. Or Corinne just. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know of any other way. I don't think there's one way. That's just how I would approach it, probably. It's just, like I look at people like Maria is a good example, right? She'll just say, or the Maria is a good example. The Living Word Ministries are a good example. Like, they just said, let's have a Nerf battle with kids. And just come, we'll have snacks, and kids can just play, and we'll provide the Nerfs or whatever. Sure. And are you guys going to go to that? I don't know. The kids are talking about school. This is how I heard parents talking about it. The kids are talking about school, and we'll go check it out, I guess. I don't know.
Have any of you volunteered for a political campaign? Like,
yes.
Canvassing stuff?
Yes.
How hard was it to, like I'd say out of 10 doors you knocked on, how many people actually opened the door?
I didn't knock on doors, actually, but I went to, it was in a public setting where I had to go to people, or I was at a table and people had to, if they had questions, they could come up and ask us.
Like, did you find that pretty difficult, like just trying to get people engaged?
It's weird. It's how you present it. Do you look presentable? Do you look like somebody's wanting to come, do you look like somebody you can feel like you can have a conversation with that person or not? You know what I mean? Or are you going to give off the appearance of, I don't want to speak to you? You know what I mean?
The being a people person does really help.
No, but even going back to what I was saying with that Nerf thing, like, they're a good example of, they just said, let's do this and see. Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
And I went to it by force, I will say, because my mom and dad were watching my nephew, but my mom was gone, and my sister had asked me, can you please be there with Andrew? Because, why would my dad want to be he's 61, at a little Nerf thing for kids, So, and I'm sometimes childish, so my sister's like, perfect. And sure enough, I'm there, just sitting there like,
so you didn't volunteer, your sister volunteered?
No, my sister volunteered to be my nephew's guardian for the thing. And sure enough, there was so many kids. I did not expect that many kids. Loud, but not in a disruptive, Jesus. You could tell the kids were focused. They had it set up good. They had the rules clearly out. And the parents were people, you could tell parents were laughing, watching their kids get into it. They had an adults thing do it, and they got me to do it, and I was like, I'm not doing this. And then I did it, and then I was got pulled into doing 8 more rounds with kids. And I was the only adult shooting kids, But it was at the end of the day, it was a 2-hour event, and I can tell you those kids will probably do that again if it was happened. If it was held once a month, I guarantee you, those kids would be there again. Mm-hmm. Because they set it up good, and it was, hey, come on over. It wasn't we're just doing this as our church group. We're not doing this just for this group. This was a community event. So.
Thoughtful planning and great leadership can get you a long way. Yeah,
so they're the perfect. Pastor Pete is the perfect example right now of our town of somebody just saying hey, let's try it. Let's just have an event, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. At least they can say they put something on. They just had a father-daughter dance now too. That doesn't happen in Cuesta. No one does a father-daughter dance. But who knows? Maybe it's a new tradition that they just started. But
Isn't that common in Catholic circles? I thought it was common in Catholic circles, Father Daughter dances.
I mean, not in my Catholic circle.
No, just
Maybe that's a California Catholic.
seriously.
Just kidding.
But yeah, it's hard to get people to engage because already, even here, I wouldn't say that we exactly engage with our neighbors, but we engage with the community, like more as a whole. But like it,
We do. We learn our community.
Yeah, definitely. But I wouldn't say we directly go and engage with our neighbors. Like so, like if you're trying to get an entire apartment complex, for your example, to like get into something, it'd be pretty difficult to even get them out of their houses because they're living their own lives trying to deal with their own crap. It's not really going to work for like getting everybody out and like finding something that everybody is going to be interested enough in to build that community. Like there's not very many things that people care about anymore other than money.
And everyone's so focused on everyone's so focused on themselves that if they open up their door a little more, or not just thinking of themselves, if they let people help them out or whatever, and you can build that community, whatever.
I think the rise of selfishness though comes from some decades long, almost kind of a century long process of society becoming a little more and more atomized. The word atomized, like individualized, like
Individualistic.
more and more over the 20th century, humans became more and more disconnected from just the land they lived on. And being disconnected from the land obviously disconnects you from the community in the area.
We should study Japan, and like Asian countries are very community sense still. You know, they're always helping the neighbor out. You know. And that's why you don't really see a lot of bad crime happening in like places like Japan or South Korea, because they're very like, at the end they're capitalistic, but at the end of the day too, they're also like, you still gotta help each other out. You know what I mean? You have to help each other out. You know.
There's a YouTuber like who does history content, just talks about human history. It's What If Altist. He has a theory for civilizations, different human civilizations, and how different civilizations, different parts of the planet are primarily driven by dominant emotions. Like for example, he says the West, like Western Europe and the U.S., are primarily guilt-based, and that creates more individual culture, and it also stems from Christianity. Whereas the civilizations in the East are more shame-based, which is more outward-facing. What Westerners fear the most is having a guilty conscience, having things that you
feel guilty about. You don't want to be
on the individual level. But what Easterners fear most is being shamed by the broader community. Like they very tight knit. Like
they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be an outcast.
They want to put on a good face for everyone else.
Yeah. Yin and yang. It's almost like the yin and yang of the societies of our world.
Like it's not a scientific theory, but
no, I see what you're saying, but like, don't you think that it kind of has like, it's kind of like a yin and yang kind of thingy there, East and West societies.
I think there's benefits to both.
Yeah, there is.
That marks an hour. What do you think, audience? Continue the conversation in the comments.
Oh, do you have a camera on here too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a webcam there.
Sick.
Stop stream. There we go.
What are you streaming on?
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I feel like an hour is long enough.
Well, that was a good topic.